The invaders' first mistake. The stars had never felt so cold. Deep in the galaxy, the Varaxians are ruthless. Powerful alien race set their sights on Earth. They had conquered hundreds of planets, destroyed civilizations, and enslaved entire species. For them, Earth was just another small, weak world that would fall easily. The Varaxian Empire was feared across the galaxy, and their warlord, Zorath, was the embodiment of strength and terror. No one had ever dared to challenge them in. Now, the Varaxian fleet arrived in Earth's orbit with a deafening roar, their massive ships looming like dark shadows against the vastness of space. The ships were designed to intimidate, built for one purpose: destruction. They had weapons that could obliterate entire cities with a single blast, and their warships were invincible, protected by shields and armor stronger than anything Earth could muster. Zorath stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching Earth through the massive viewport. He smirked as he gazed at the small blue planet below. Earth, he thought, would be an easy conquest. A planet with primitive technology, no real defenses, and no hope of survival. He had already destroyed countless worlds, each one more powerful than Earth. To him, the humans were nothing more than insects to crush underfoot. "Prepare the fleet," Zorath ordered, his voice cold and commanding. "Target their cities. We'll show them the might of the Varaxian Empire." His fleet moved into position, and the first wave of missiles was launched, streaking across the black void. The alien ships fired with deadly precision, each missile aimed directly at Earth's most populated cities. The humans had no way of stopping them. Zorath was sure of it. The missiles flew towards their targets, their warheads ready to cause destruction on an unimaginable scale. But as the missiles descended, something strange happened. The sky above Earth began to shimmer. A strange distortion in the atmosphere. Zorath's eyes narrowed in confusion. What was this? It couldn't be. The humans were supposed to be defenseless. Before he could react, a massive explosion lit up the sky, much larger than anything Zorath had ever witnessed. It wasn't an explosion of destruction, it was the explosion of Earth's hidden defense. The Earth had activated its own weapons systems, a powerful array of energy shields that enveloped the planet in a protective barrier. The Varaxian missiles crashed into the shields with a tremendous force, but the shields held firm, not a single missile reaching its target. Zorath's commanders looked at each other in disbelief. "What is this?" one of them asked, a note of fear in his voice. "Their shields are stronger than our weapons." For the first time in his life, Zorath felt uncertainty. The humans had done something no one expected. The invincible Varaxian fleet had been met with something far more powerful than anything they had faced before. Zorath was sure Earth's defenses were weak, but now he wasn't so sure. His mind raced. How had they done this? How had Earth managed to develop such advanced technology without anyone knowing? The Varaxians were stunned, their initial confidence quickly evaporating. Zorath's face hardened with anger. "Fire everything. Don't hold back. Destroy their defenses." His fleet unleashed a second barrage, even more powerful than the first. Massive beams of energy and weapons of mass destruction poured down upon Earth, shaking the very fabric of space. But once again, Earth's shields absorbed the attacks without even a crack in their surface. It was as though Earth had turned the tide of the battle with a single, unexpected move. Zorath slammed his fist onto the control panel in frustration. This couldn't be happening. The Varaxian Empire had conquered worlds with ease. Planets far stronger than Earth had fallen before them, and yet here they were, facing a human world that refused to bow. "Send the ground troops," Zorath ordered, his voice now full of rage. "We'll land on their surface and crush them beneath our boots." But even as he gave the order, Zorath could sense the changing tides of the battle. His fleet had been built for invasion, for overwhelming force, not for dealing with a world that fought back. This was supposed to be a simple conquest. The Varaxians never expected a world like Earth to resist. As his ships descended to the planet's surface, Zorath prepared for the next phase of his plan. The ground invasion would break the human spirit. They would bow to the Varaxians, just like every other world. But what Zorath didn't know was that Earth wasn't just defending itself. Earth was preparing for a war unlike anything the Varaxians had ever seen. The first of the Varaxian ground forces landed, their boots hitting the Earth's surface with a thunderous sound. But as they marched forward, they met something they hadn't prepared for. Earth's defenders were not just military personnel, they were the Deathworlders, humans born and raised on harsh, hostile planets. These humans were survivors, warriors forged in the fires of conflict, each one stronger and more ruthless than any alien invader could imagine. The first wave of Varaxian troops fell within minutes. Earth's Deathworlders, armed with weapons, designed for the toughest conditions, tore through the invaders like a storm. The Varaxians were shocked. This was not a world of defenseless civilians. These humans fought with the ferocity of animals, each one trained to survive in environments far worse than anything the Varaxians had ever encountered. The battle was only beginning, but already the Varaxians could feel the truth settling in. They had made a grave mistake. Earth was not the weak, primitive planet they had thought it to be. It was a world of warriors, a world of death, and a world that would not yield. As Zorath watched his troops fall, he realized that this war would not be easy. Earth was far stronger than he had ever imagined, and the Varaxians were now facing a force they were not prepared for. Earth Strikes Back, the Deathworlders unleashed the Varaxian warlord. Zorath was accustomed to victory. For centuries, his people had swept across the galaxy, leaving a trail of burning planets and shattered civilizations in their wake. But now, as his forces struggled to hold ground on Earth, Zorath felt a cold weight of uncertainty. His once confident soldiers were faltering. The Deathworlders, Earth's fiercest warriors, had come out of nowhere, and they were unlike anything the Varaxians had faced before. The first shockwave of their attack hit the Varaxian soldiers like a tidal wave. Earth's Deathworlders, humans born on the most hostile planets in the galaxy, fought with an animalistic fury. These were not soldiers trained in traditional warfare. These were survivors of hellish worlds, people who had lived through constant danger, from violent storms to ravenous creatures. To them, the Varaxians were just another predator to defeat. The first Varaxian platoon that ventured into Earth's wilderness was wiped out in minutes. At first, they thought it was an ambush, but it wasn't. It was just how Earth's Deathworlders fought fast, ruthless, and efficient. Their weapons were built to tear through the toughest alien armor. Their senses were honed by years of surviving. On worlds where every day was a battle for survival, the Varaxians tried to regroup, but the Deathworlders were everywhere. In the trees, in the shadows, beneath the earth, no matter where the invaders went, they were hunted. The Deathworlders were everywhere, moving like ghosts, striking with brutal efficiency, and then disappearing into the wilderness once again. Where are they? One of Zorath's commanders yelled in panic. "We can't see them. They're everywhere." "They're hunting us," Zorath replied, his voice grim, his fingers clenched into fists as he watched Earth's defenders tear through his forces. It was clear now, this wasn't just a war of strength, it was a war of will. And Earth's warriors were more determined than anything he had ever seen. Meanwhile, the Varaxian fleet in orbit began to falter as well. Earth's warships, which had been lying in wait, now rose to join the battle. They had been waiting for this moment, hidden behind the moon, out of sight. The Vraxians thought their attack on Earth was one-sided, but they were wrong. Earth wasn't just fighting to defend its world, it was fighting to protect its future. The Deathworlders' strike was not random, it was calculated. Every move had been planned, every ambush set. Earth's forces knew exactly how to strike at the heart of the Vraxian Empire, and they were doing it now. Zorath had assumed this battle would be quick, but as his fleet and ground troops were being torn apart, he began to understand Earth wasn't just fighting for survival, Earth was fighting for vengeance. A transmission came through from Earth's high command, shattering the chaos. Zorath's own communications officers heard an unanticipated broadcast to the entire galaxy. "This is Earth Command." The voice crackled, calm and unwavering. "Vraxians, you have invaded our planet. You have brought war to our doorstep. We have no choice but to fight. And know this, Earth's Deathworlders are not like your other victims. We will not bow. We will not surrender. This is your final warning." Zorath's heart raced. The humans had not only developed weapons stronger than anything the Vraxians had ever seen, they had also developed something more dangerous, unshakable resolve. These humans, these Deathworlders, had a fire in their hearts that could not be extinguished. They were not like the peaceful species Zorath had conquered. These humans would die fighting. In desperation, Zorath called for reinforcements, but it was already too late. The Deathworlders had already infiltrated the Varaxian fleet, disabling key weapons systems and rendering Zorath's warships ineffective. The aliens had underestimated Earth's warriors, and now they were paying the price. The Varaxian warlord stood alone on his bridge, staring at the destruction unfolding outside his ship. His empire was crumbling. His troops were in disarray. Earth's warriors were like a storm, tearing apart everything in their path. "They are too strong," Zorath muttered to himself. "How can this be?" The ground beneath his feet trembled as the full force of Earth's retaliation came to fruition. It was clear now, Earth would not be easily conquered. The invaders had made the fatal mistake of underestimating the power of humanity, and now they were seeing the true consequences of their arrogance. The Vraxian's desperations stood on the bridge of his flagship, his eyes scanning the chaos unfolding in front of him. His mind, once filled with the confidence of an unstoppable conqueror, now spun in circles of disbelief. The humans were relentless. No matter how many of his ships fell, no matter how many troops he lost, the Earth Deathworlders kept coming. It was as if the entire planet had become a world of warriors who fought with an unyielding rage, driven by something more than just survival. It was vengeance. The Vraxian warlord had seen many battles, fought many enemies, but never before had he faced an opponent like this. The Deathworlders were everywhere. On the ground, in space, in the very atmosphere itself. They struck quickly, then disappeared without a trace, leaving destruction in their wake. Zorath's once proud fleet had become a scattering of broken ships, barely able to defend themselves against the onslaught. Status report. Zorath roared, his voice laced with frustration. "Sir, we've lost contact with the majority of our ground forces. came the response. The Deathworlders are infiltrating our ships. They've disabled several key weapon systems, and our communications are failing. We can't keep up with their movements. Zorath's grip tightened around the armrest of his command chair. This was not how he had planned the invasion. The Varaxians were supposed to be the invincible ones. They were supposed to be the ones crushing the weak species of the galaxy under their boot. But instead, they had Earth underestimated its warriors, and now they were paying the price. "We must end this now," Zorath muttered, his voice cold. "Prepare the final strike. Launch everything we have left." He had one last weapon in his arsenal, weapon that could wipe out entire continents. A weapon that the Vraxians had used only in the most dire of circumstances. The Vraxian bomb. This bomb, a relic from ancient times, could shatter the surface of a planet, obliterating all life in its path. It was a weapon of mass destruction that left nothing but scorched earth and radioactive wastelands behind. Zorath had hoped never to use it, but now Earth had pushed him to the edge. If the Deathworlders wouldn't yield, then he would force them to understand the true meaning of power. The bomb's countdown began, but as Zorath gave the order, something strange happened. His fleet, what was left of it, had been scattered. Earth's fleet, their ships sleek and fast, had engaged the remaining Varaxian warships with a ferocity unlike any battle Zorath had ever fought. One by one, his ships were being picked off. No matter how much firepower he unleashed, the Earth ships outmaneuvered him, dodging and returning fire with deadly precision. Then, a chilling message came through the comms. "This is Earth Command. You've made your move. Now, we make ours." Zorath's blood ran cold. The Earth fleet wasn't just defending anymore, it was on the offensive, and they had already penetrated the heart of his defenses. In the distance, a new fleet emerged. From the shadows, a fleet he had never seen before. These ships were far more advanced than anything he had expected. They were the true hidden power of Earth. Before Zorath could react, a series of devastating strikes rocked his flagship. The Varaxian warlord barely had time to process what was happening as his ship's systems began to fail. The final bomb, his ultimate weapon, was still primed to launch, but now Earth's ships were too close. The planet was within their range. Zorath's last hope of winning was slipping away. "Captain, we've lost control of the Devastator bomb," an officer shouted, panic in his voice. "It's too late to stop it." The massive warship's shields flickered and failed. Earth's fleet had taken out the Varaxian flagship's critical systems in one final, devastating strike. The ship, once a symbol of the Varaxian Empire's might, was now crippled, its power drained, and its weapons useless. The remaining Varaxian ships were retreating, their morale shattered, unable to face the overwhelming power of Earth's Deathworlders. Zorath stood frozen, unable to comprehend how quickly his empire had crumbled. His fleet, his weapons, his plans, they were all useless against the resilience and determination of Earth's warriors. It was over. Zorath's vision blurred as he stood on the bridge, looking at the ruins of his flagship. The empire he had worked so hard to build was collapsing. His legacy was nothing but a pile of wreckage, consumed by a force that had risen from nothing but desperation and strength. The Deathworlders had proved that Earth was not a weak, defenseless planet. It was a force to be reckoned with. As Zorath looked out into space, the final transmission from Earth Command came through. "Varaxian forces, surrender now. You have two choices. Live to fight another day or face complete annihilation. Earth will not be your victim. Your war is over." The message was clear. The Varaxians had lost, and there was no escaping the consequences. Zorath had learned the hardest lesson of all: never underestimate a Deathworlder. Earth's warriors had proven that. The final strike. Earth prevails. The Vraxian fleet had once been a symbol of the galaxy's greatest power, a force that had swept across countless star systems. But now, all that remained of their once proud might was a scattering of broken ships fleeing into the depths of space. Earth had turned the tide. Earth's warriors had not only defended their planet, they had taken the fight to the Vraxian, pushing them back to the edge of destruction. Zorath stood on the bridge of what was left of his flagship, surrounded by the cold, empty void of space. His fingers trembled as he gazed at the view of Earth's surface, now marred by the marks of war. The city lights that once glittered in peaceful harmony were now dimmed by the scars of the battle. It was an image that burned itself into his mind. We can't win, one of his officers muttered, his voice hollow with defeat. Zorath didn't respond. He couldn't. The defeat had set in. His ships were crippled, his fleet scattered, and Earth's warriors had outmaneuvered him at every turn. Their Deathworlders, those relentless survivors, had cut through his forces like a blade through paper. His greatest weapon, the Devastator bomb, had failed to launch, disabled by the very fleet he had underestimated. Every move he made had been countered. Every strategy shattered by Earth's unrelenting will. As Zorath stared out at the stars, he knew there was only one thing left for him to do. He had to stop this war before it ended his empire. Earth's forces were closing in on his last remaining ships, their fleet tightening around his. Zorath could feel the inevitable draw of death closing in, but he was no fool. The galaxy had underestimated Earth, but now he understood the one thing that made Earth's warriors truly dangerous. Determination. There was no turning back now. Zorath's final command would be his last. Prepare the escape pods, Zorath ordered, his voice low. We'll retreat. We'll live to fight another day. But before his officers could react, a loud alarm blared throughout the ship. The screens flickered, and a message flashed across the display. A communication from Earth Command. This is Earth Command, the message began, cold and authoritative. Zorath, your war is over. There is nowhere left for you to run. Zorath's blood ran cold. He had expected to make a last stand, perhaps disappear into the shadows of space. But Earth had anticipated his every move. Earth's warships had cornered him. They were now blocking all escape routes, ensuring that his fleet could not flee. Prepare to surrender, the message continued. We've given you every chance to leave, but you have made your choice. Zorath stood still, stunned. He had known Earth's warriors were fierce, but this was beyond anything he had expected. He looked at the command screen again, the words burning into his mind. There was nowhere to hide anymore, as Earth's fleet closed in. Ordered his remaining ships to prepare for a final assault, but it was too late. Earth's fleet fired in unison, their weapons cutting through the Vraxian ships with surgical precision. One by one, the Vraxian ships began to break apart. Zorath's flagship, the symbol of the once feared Vraxian Empire, was finally being torn apart by Earth's relentless forces. The final moments of the battle played out in slow motion, as Zorath's flagship began to disintegrate under the might of Earth's weapons. Explosions rocked the ship, and the once imposing structure of the flagship began to crumble. Zorath stood at the helm, his hands clenched into fists, staring out at the destruction. The reality of his failure hit him all at once. Earth had won. The Varaxian Empire had been defeated, and it was over for Zorath, with one final, desperate attempt. Zorath initiated the self-destruct sequence of the flagship. It was a last-ditch effort to take Earth's forces with him, but before he could complete the command, the entire Varaxian fleet was obliterated in a massive shockwave, caused by a final barrage from Earth's warships. The flagship, once a symbol of terror, was now a pile of debris floating in space, a memorial to a fallen empire. But as the wreckage of Zorath's flagship drifted away, Earth's Deathworlders stood victorious. They had proved, not only to the Varaxians, but to the entire galaxy, that no one would threaten Earth without facing the full wrath of its warriors. The war was over.